Greetings, YouTube. Last night, my wife and I watched the movie Starship Troopers, mostly so that we could listen to the commentary track. Now, like many of the videos I watched, this is the first time I've seen the film since its theatrical release, oh so many years ago. And I can remember thinking at the time that it was not a horrible translation of the book, but it really showed some of the glaring problems with the universe that had been created for the book. But overall, it was an enjoyable film. It was a decent action movie. And since I'm a fan of science fiction films, I had a good time. I was less critical about films at that time in my life. But last night, I got a chance to watch it with my wife and listen to Paul Verhoeven discuss his thoughts years after the actual production of the film. And it was quite interesting to really get into not just his motivations behind the storyline, but listening to his commentary about their set locations and choices for the roles of the characters and things like that. I really enjoyed knowing that a lot of the sets that he used were real. They weren't created out of whole cloth for the film. They were public buildings or college campuses or actual homes that they then used as set locations. And I kind of eat up that sort of thing. I find it fascinating knowing that out there somewhere that building that was used in a film actually exists. I think that's very cool. And he was really fascinated and involved in the digital aspects. I mean, every single scene in the movie where there was a digital effect was commented on him. Like this section, this over here, this was a model over there, and then that difference between this scene and that scene, that was a digital effect, and then it leads into the next. And he was really fascinated by this. My wife just kind of like looked at me at one point and just like, wow, he really likes the digital stuff, doesn't he? Which made me smile. But also remember that when it was made, digital effects weren't quite as common as they are now. Now, you've got really high-powered digital effects in every commercial available on television. They're everywhere. They're completely ubiquitous at this point. But the film does hold up really well as propaganda, and that's what they based this film on. They based it on the propaganda films of World War II. The put out by the U.S. government, and I'm sure about the same things that were put out by the Soviets and the Nazis as well. And they really did convey that feeling because it doesn't look like reality. It looks a lot more like reality than, say, the film was actually made during the World War II, but it has almost a sheen to it. The colors are almost the old traditional Technicolor in nature. It doesn't quite look like reality. It's sort of like the way Kill Bill isn't quite reality. It's close to reality, but it's not our reality. And for example, the characters in Starship Troopers don't look like high school seniors. I'm sorry. So these are very pretty people. Don't get me wrong. And they aren't hard to look at, but they don't look like high school characters. And in the same way that when you saw films from the 40s and the 50s, people portraying high school characters didn't look like high school characters either because they weren't. They were adult. They just happened to look a little younger, so they used them. But there's something about an adult playing a younger character that never looks the same as a younger character playing themselves. That's why Ellen Page is so incredibly good at playing young characters, because let's face it, that's what she is. And I appreciate that. Of course, the universe of Starship Troopers has some glaring holes in it. A brief background: in it, to become a voting citizen, you have to be in the military. You have to serve in the military, and once you get out of the military, you can then vote. Anyone that doesn't vote, anyone that doesn't serve in the military, can't vote. You are called a civilian. There's a problem with this, because there's never been a time in human history when a group that had social control did not exploit those that did not have social control. So very shortly after this arrangement will be set up, those who had served in the military, the voters, the citizens, would enslave the civilians. They would use them as labor, as experimentation, as slaves, as what have you, because they would have no rights. They would only have the rights given them by the voting citizens. So this kind of system just simply would not function flat out. There was a level of non-racial, non-gender equality in this, which was cool. I enjoyed that aspect in the film, and Verhoeven talks about it a number of times. But I think it may have gone too far. I don't know, even in total equality, are men and women going to want to shower together in a boot camp? I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I don't. I can't tell you. We haven't, as a people, really tried that experiment, but I guess we'll find out. As far as the racial part, yeah, I can see that eventually getting to the point where it's going to be as unimportant as eye color. But overall, I enjoyed the film. I'm glad it's got it in my collection. I haven't watched the extra features that are included in this DVD. They're on the back side. I hadn't had a chance to watch them last night because by the time the film ended, I was falling asleep on the sofa. So it was time to go to bed. But I enjoyed it. I'm glad I own it. And if you enjoyed the book, and if you like science fiction films in general and that kind of propaganda of the World War II era, I would recommend this movie. If you're looking for something a little deeper, maybe it isn't your cup of tea.